Welcome to our show, Cooking for Parkinson's. I'm Jessie, and this is my guest, Richa. And Richa's here today to tell us about Parkinson's disease. So Richa, what is Parkinson's disease?
So Parkinson's is a chronic progressive neurodegenerative, disorder that affects the dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter in your brain.
So what exactly does that mean?
So basically, a person with Parkinson's is going to have less of this neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter is really important for things like movement and even for your posture. So some of the things that you might see with a person with Parkinson's is resting tremors. So even if they're just standing still, their hand might be shaking a little. You can see bradykinesia, and that's basically just really slow movements. So it's going to take them a while to do certain things. You might also see some postural instability, so they might not be able to sit upright or be slouching a little. They might even actually do this thing called freezing, so they might be walking and all of a sudden they'll just stop and they won't be able to walk again.
So if they need to go to a fridge to get food, they might just stop in their tracks.
Yeah, so they might just stop. And then something that actually occupational therapists teach us is you might want to tell them, pretend like you're taking a step. So when they pretend to take a step, that might actually help them to start walking again.
Wow. So does this all happen at once?
No, I'm glad you asked. So there's different stages of Parkinson's, usually 5 stages, and they're called the Hone and Yar stages. So the first stage, they'll have mild movement deficits, but it's usually one-sided, and they're able to still function. Stage 2 is when both sides of their body start getting affected, but their balance is still intact. Stage 3, you're going to start seeing more of an imbalance, and this might be risky for falls and other injuries that could be coming up after they fall. And then stage 4, they're going to have more advanced motor deficits, so you might start seeing more of the bradykinesia, more of the resting tremors, more of the instability. They don't live alone at this stage. And they also have problems with speech and swallowing, which is great that we're doing a cooking show for them, because this is something that needs to be made
to help
to be brought to the forefront, exactly. And then stage 5, you're going to need constant care with them, because they're going to have really big deficits. They might not even be able to walk or stand anymore.
Wow. So when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Parkinson's disease, and we're going to start cooking.
Have you or a loved one worked with pesticides or insecticides before? Are you now diagnosed with Parkinson's disease? Did you know that environmental factors, such as pesticides and insecticides, along with genetic factors, can cause Parkinson's disease? There are currently 1.5 million Americans living with Parkinson's disease, and roughly 60,000 new cases of Parkinson's disease will be diagnosed this year. You may be entitled for compensation. Call 1-800-LAWYERS.
Hello.
Welcome back. So now we're going to start cooking our omelet with Richa.
And omelets are really good for protein, which is great, but there's one thing that people with Parkinson's need to be aware of is,
what's that?
Well, their medication, L-Dopa, that they're usually on, can react negatively with these high protein diets. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that our client spaces out when they're going to eat and take their medication. So usually we recommend that they take their medication an hour or 2 earlier
Before eating.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So do you want to start cutting the peppers?
Sure. Actually might be tough for people with Parkinson's, because not only do they have bradykinesia and resting tremors, but they also have rigidity. So they might have decreased function in their upper extremity.
So what would you do with these symptoms?
So for something like bradykinesia, I just want to make sure that you give the client enough time. Be aware that it might take longer than it might like an average person making an omelet.
So maybe someone can help them with like meal prepping and getting things ready.
That's a great idea. Yeah, especially in the later stages of Parkinson's, that'd be fabulous if they bought like pre-cut vegetables. And all of these suggestions can be made by an occupational therapist if they were to visit one. So.
Wow. That sounds like a great job.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an OT actually. I just go on talk shows and talk about Parkinson's. But I've had exposure to them and they sound like a fabulous breed of people.
Yeah. Wow. Getting a little tired.
Water, genius. I forgot to mention this. So we have to remind our patients to always stay hydrated because this might be something that they forget and they actually might not like doing it because of their swallowing problems. And sometimes they might, in the later stages of Parkinson's, start getting memory deficits. So,
What would you do for that?
Maybe we can even just like write a little memory aid, so just be like, drink water or something, and then we can stick it on a wall, and every time they see it, they have to drink a glass of water.
That's smart to remind them.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said before that it takes them a while, or they don't have good standing balance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would they do for that in something like this if they're standing and cutting?
Well, we would maybe pull up a chair. So you want to make sure that the chair has a high back and has like arms next to it, because like we mentioned, their posture might be a little weak. So we want to make sure that they're safe while they're in the chair. And this is also great because people with Parkinson's in the later stages start experiencing fatigue. So maybe having them sit will conserve some of that energy and simplify the work. And
then they can get through the task.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
How much does their diet change with Parkinson's?
So they want to make sure that they have high fiber and high protein in their diets for sure. And also, we would suggest having 3 small meals a day instead of big meals, and this will help them throughout to manage their disease.
Wow. Give them energy.
Yep.
So when we come back, we're going to put all our food in the pan and enjoy our omelet.
Since he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's, nothing has been the same. Parkinson's hurts. Rigidity, bradykinesia, resting tremor, fatigue, and poor posture. Levodopa can help. Levodopa is a prescription medication that treats many symptoms of Parkinson's. You may experience these side effects: agitation, dizziness, hallucinations, nausea, vomiting, and irregular heartbeats. You may also experience uncontrollable movements. Please talk to your doctor if you experience any of these side effects because some may be very dangerous. People taking MAOIs or ketamine should not take levodopa. Please talk to your doctor before using if you have heart disease, liver disease, depression, or respiratory disease, or if you are pregnant. Ask your doctor about levodopa. Levodopa can help.
So while we were gone, we put all the ingredients in our omelet onto the pan, and it's almost done cooking. So what other teams work with people who have Parkinson's disease?
So I know I already mentioned occupational therapists, but this population also has a hard time swallowing. So a speech-language pathologist would be key in this to make sure that they don't aspirate or have any other problems while doing that. But also their medical doctor would be important to prescribe medications to keep track of their course of disease.
So what kind of medications would they need to take?
Well, everyone knows levodopa for this population is a big medication that's prescribed. And there's also other kinds. So there's anticholinergics, which attack the motor symptoms. But then this population is also going to be experiencing a lot of psychosocial issues. So they might be depressed or have anxiety. And we want to make sure we give them medications to address these factors. And let's say these medications don't work. Worst comes to worst, there's always surgery. So we can go in and remove a part of the thalamus or a part of the brain that actually is in charge of this dopamine. So a polyodotomy or a thalamodotomy would be key, or a deep brain stimulation. Just go in there and excite like certain parts of the brain
And that would help them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Help them move a little bit freer. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're gonna finish this. We're gonna put it on our plate and enjoy it. Thank you, Richa, for coming. And when we come back, we're gonna have a cook-off between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
Woo!
Yay!